of call for proposals that I'm not eligible to apply to because I'm with the UN, but that NGOs are eligible to apply to. And I see in Kenya, for example, there's quite some capacity. Some partners that we work with under Go Blue, such as CARA, such as the Consortium for Sustainable Urban Development, other partners also in the coast, the Sote Hub, the people who are working on employment issues, and there are a lot of opportunity for them out there, especially in the ocean space, but in other spaces as well. So I think it will depend on the drive of this community to go and take some of these on board and to deliver on it and deliver well, and then more can be done based on that. So that's my quick assessment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Florian. George, before we come to Churchill, have you as an organization, even when in your experience, in handling projects and all, have you been able to face issues in shifts in donor funding, probably in projects? Probably maybe you've started projects and maybe there have been changes or the fundings are not there. Have you been able to navigate some of these issues, and what are some of the things you've been able to do to stay afloat and still, ensure that you're able to implement projects?
Well, what I can say is that definitely it affects all players in the NGO sector. But then also we've seen an emergence of even new players coming in, or new donors coming into the space. Because if I just reflect on maybe on some of the projects that currently that we are implementing, because we had our traditional donors, if I may say so, but then also we've been also having other kind of funding agencies also coming in to support. We've seen foundations also coming in strongly, like in the case of MasterCard. Then also for some of the donors, like right now we are implementing some projects as practical action with the UK Pact. Also quite keenly, also geared more to the energy space happening. Then definitely for some projects which ended, some donors indicated that in a way what they were leaving the space, or maybe they were changing priorities or changing on aspect to countries. I think a key thing maybe in terms of also the shift as an organization is the essence of now partnership, because now for some of the projects initially, previous model was 100% grant financing, but now we are having projects where that there is a co-financing element, and for which also we are partnering with the private sector. There's a project we are partnering on waste management with Kakamega County with a private sector player, and now with Practical Action being the lead entity. Then also for some other project we implemented on e-mobility, also partnering with the largest electric bus provider to come up to develop standards within the industry. So also that aspect of now that partnership, we also see a lot of things to do with also a co-financing element. So grants are not more so 100% as previously. So definitely there's a co-financing element or a blended element, if I may put it that way. Thank you. Mercy, back to you.
Mercy, can you hear us? Has there been any major changes?
The business model revolves mostly around project implementation, and it's been like that for a while. I think that the agencies also vary in terms of how much they depend on core versus earmarked funding. So the business model of UN Habitat is mainly around about implementing projects, and hence there is fluctuation in projects, but this is not affected in a major way at the moment the portfolio for now.
Okay. In terms of okay, this measure majorly applies to the people you're working with, but I'm talking about internally. Have you changed how you're hiring? Because I'm sure the people in this team maybe might be interested. Has the hiring gone down? Has it shifted? Has it become more strategic? What has changed in terms of that?
I'm not in a real position to comment on that. All I can say is that all the UN agencies have had to cut some core positions, regular budget positions. They had to submit to New York. But in the case of UN Habitat, some of them or many of them were unencumbered, which means that they were already frozen. So hence, I don't think it has affected the way it's being hired. The trend is towards more short-term assignments and more specifically towards the project implementation in general. And I think that other agencies are also following that trend, but UN Habitat has already been on that for a while. So in a way, it's more of the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lex. Marcy, you're back.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I think now to Churchill, in terms of the macroeconomics, I'm just curious to know political and macroeconomic pressures that I mentioned earlier, influencing funding priorities and expectations. And also we've heard from the sector players are looking at blended financing models. Is that the way to go to navigate all this?
Yeah, thanks. I think those are some of the solutions that are coming out, which are practical and also, in a way, is the way to go. The way to go about handling this issue. If you think about it, in 2010, the average sub-Saharan African debt ratio was around 22%. As of 2024, it was around 57% and is still projected to go higher than that. So obviously, there's the debt pressures that has been coming up over the last 15 or 16 years, which has now reduced even the capacity of the economies in Africa to be able to get into some of these social sectors whereby you're seeing that NGOs have sort of a footing in, be it health, be it education, be it humanitarian assistance. So at least the NGOs having the local connection, they are involved at the local community, whereby from an economic perspective or the budgetary perspective, at this budgetary allocation are not able to reach that. So having constrained financing that has played out over the last couple of years, at least getting into some alternatives is the best way to go. On one hand, to ensure that there's some continuance of the projects that are being deployed by the NGOs, and also on the other hand, at least not to exacerbate these debt vulnerabilities that we're seeing by African economies. They're not constrained as much in terms of delivering some of these social sectors to the communities. So it's kind of win-win. We've seen even Florian mentioning and also George mentioning some of these alternatives that are being deployed, the blended finance, the private public partnerships, which is also coming into center stage in some of the economies. Blended finance also coming in. And also we've been hearing even talks of some of the social financing, be it green bonds, be it blue bonds for the blue economy. So going forward, I think this is the best, is seen as a way out to ensure that these programs are still continuing and also reducing the risk on the sovereign. Thanks.
Thank you, Churchill. I'm curious to know in terms of aligning with development plans, and I'm glad Mr. Florian and Mr. George, you have quite an extensive experience. And in terms of how can NGOs and even development partners be able to better align? But even when you come now on ground, especially to the communities, you're implementing projects that are in line with the development and are meeting the needs of the community. George, I think I'll start with you on this one.
maybe I did not get the final bit. I think it was breaking.
I was asking, you have been able to implement a lot of projects and you've coordinated and partnered with the government. And one of the struggles of NGOs is to align it's alignment with the government development plans. So as an organization, from your experience, probably what are some of the lessons that NGOs and development partners can be able to pick up in terms to ensure that they do partnership with government, but also the projects they're doing are aligned with the development goals of the government.
Okay. Thanks so much for that, Mercy. Yeah, so I'll answer it also reflecting on maybe some of the projects that as an organization we have implemented. So first of all, I'll pick a case project that Practical Action implemented with the Water Sector Trust Fund. So also that was a bit of an interesting model because now a lot of the larger bit of the financing was more coming from a government entity in the sense that now developing the infrastructure for water that was in Turkana County. So first of all, the needs and the priorities have to be set by the local communities. Yeah. So that deep understanding of what are the needs, so that you're not just developing from a theoretical point of view that you come up with a theory of change just from a theoretical perspective, but these are needs that are guided by the people. Then I can also reflect on quite a lot of the works that we do on the policy front. We have been working with some national governments or county governments in supporting them in developing their county energy planning, which now is a requirement under the Energy Act of 2019. And in terms of now developing capacity for that, it really involves a lot of, it's a consultative process for which it's not, you start even from the ward level, yeah, in the development to ensure that the needs of the people on the grounds are catered, to ensure that inclusion, be it of the local CSOs and the CBOs, they're involved in the process. But also when doing that, you're ensuring capacity building of all these entities so that they become like actors, major actors in the process moving forward in coordination with the county governments. And then it's important also to mention that also from that the county governments over the last, let me call it, the last 10 or so years, they've really gained capacity, if I may put it that way, because if you look at their priorities as set out in their county integrated development plans, the first cycle was quite underdeveloped, but now after the subsequent cycles and also in a lot of their policy work that we've been doing, they have well established kind of mechanisms also for ensuring coordination with the local communities. Yeah. So yeah, that's would be my take on that. Thanks.
Mercy, before we proceed, I'd like to take notice of Bonanzai, the Vision 2030 chairperson. He's in the room. Karibu sana Bonanzai.
Asante.
Karibu sana Mr. Nzai. Thank you for joining us. And I think you are the missing piece in this conversation. I'm just curious to know from a government perspective, what defines a sustainable and effective NGO partnership today. Mr. Florian has given us the example that with what they're doing with Go Blue Project and also Mazingira Park in Kilifi. Mr. George has been telling us about the energy projects they've been able to do in conjunction with both the national and the county government. I'm curious to know from where you sit, briefly, what defines a sustainable NGO government partnership.
Thank you so much. And can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, and it's good to see some of the faces I know, including yourself, Tuva, and I see Florian, my good friend from UN Habitat. So thank you so much. I think you asked a very specific question, sustainable NGO partnership, so let me just get back a bit. I'm the CEO of Jumuiya Counties Apwani, the regional economic bloc representing the 6 coastal counties. So that's the county governments, and also chairman of the Kenya Vision 2030 board. One of the key projects that we've worked with Florian, and that's how probably we met Tuva and some of you, was the GoBlue project, which was quite a big partnership formation of the European Union member states with a very, very clear projects mandate, which are 25 million euros worth of work grants that needed to be done. So I think that's a good test, and I think probably Florian may probably talk about that, of some of the lessons learned there and how partnership gets to work from there, because related to that, there were many beneficiaries as it is who followed the money to be either beneficiaries or participants as partners. And I think that's the DNA of NGO partnerships. Who funds it, for what reason, and is that reason aligned one to the if it's a county government, to the priorities of that county government, and then to the people. Actually, the people should be number one in terms of impact at that level. NGOs are non-government organizations which mostly operate in the community, in the society, to fill in a gap that the main arms, what we call the triple helix of the academia, or actually the academic system of universities and learning institutions where they do research, they build the human capital, then gets to also work with industry in terms of that's employment, the whole innovative space of jobs and entrepreneurship and creation of income. And then, of course, then there's the government. So that triple of government, industry, and academia are the main ones which get to attract funding, coming in many different forms, different ways, and that is where then the NGOs get to operate. They are paid somehow within the systems of the triple helix for them to for a goal or which has been defined for them to be able to do. Now, I think that's where it begins, because number one, for you to be effective and sustainable, you must align to the local government policies so that you have really partnership with that local government for it to be able to be supported. If possible, you work closely with them, because that's also where the political leadership is. And by definition, also then you get to reach the population. Number two, and if you work with the local county government, again, then it's aligns to the top. If you start with the top, maybe it's a national project, of course, then you're aligning also with the national government policies, and that's where we come in as the Kenya Vision 2030. Is your project initiative and its impact transformative enough and aligning to a Vision 2030 flagship projects, which I would encourage everyone to basically be aligned to that independently, simply by virtue of knowledge, simply by virtue of understanding that it is for the greater good of the society. The other item then is funding. Where is this funding coming from, and are you able to kind of finish a fund and be able to have probably a portfolio of funds that you can be able to work with from different sources, and you'll be able to actually manage those expectations of the funders, their deliverables, to make sure that you manage that very well. Last, and I think very, very important, is your social license comes from the impact that you have at the community level. Mimi ni mtu wa mashinani, so if you're working with a beach management unit, how many fishermen, not only the fishermen who are men, but the mama karanga who is there, the wife, and the children, how are they affected, and how is that household transformed, and how does it advance from a lower level of poverty to probably out of that poverty line. So those, I think, is what I can think of. But I think the advantage of the Kenyan space for NGOs is we have a very clear Kenya Vision 2030, which I think at any given time you want to know what the government is thinking and where the priorities are. The document is there. It's the MTP4 with bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And it's aligned to the County Integrated Development Plans, the CIDPs. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nzai. I know, Mr. Florian, you are about to leave us, but we have quite, we have quite, and even for the guests who are still here, we have quite a number of university students and young people who are in the audience today. And particularly, they'll just want to know how can they contribute to innovative funding or sustainable ideas within NGOs, even before graduating. How can they start doing their part? And also, Collins Lugongo, I'll pick from what you said. Digital and crowdfunding will be a good space. We've seen what the TikTok community in Kenya particularly can be able to do. So where can these young people place their ideas to the communities and to government, to development partners, and also even in terms of macroeconomics, for Churchill, how can you start meeting young people's ideas and just be able to place them at the forefront as far as funding is concerned? I don't know who will take it first, Mr. George or Churchill or Nzai, Mr. Nzai.
We can give it to Lux because Lux is about to leave.
Oh yes, Lux. Yes, Mr. Lux is about to leave. There are a lot of young people today in the conversation. And they're wondering how they can be able to take part and contribute to innovative funding and sustainability ideas within the NGOs and development partners.
Thank you for that. Yes, actually, this is something Go Blue also highlighted, which was particularly targeted at youth. I think at the tail end, especially, there were efforts where JKP hosted a contest for ideas for entrepreneurs, and also provided support for them in terms of getting funding. So there are numerous ways in which you can be engaged. Of course, in the NGO world, the social entrepreneurs, but also some of them are for business that can still help, achieve the same goals. So I think it's important to keep, a creative mind and to jointly resolve the issues. Of course, there are also activities, especially when it comes to environmental concerns, where you can be a citizen and be engaged. There are beach cleanups, and we jointly have to take care of our environment and our cities as well. So there are many ways in terms of being engaged there as well. But I do see a lot of call for proposals. I do see hackathons. I do see entrepreneur summits. The EU also hosted another one in Diani last year, where they tried to award, particularly good ideas for entrepreneurs with seed funding. So I think it's really good to look at those issues such as waste, such as wastewater and other services, whereby you can do like a social entrepreneur approach, whereby you can generate resources by also resolving societal issues, be they environmental or social. And not too much rely on let's say grants or philanthropy or things like that, but really see what can be done. And for cities also, that means looking into own source revenue, and some of the governors are already advancing quite a bit on that. I think Homa Bay has really improved its own source revenue tremendously with the leadership of the governor, and in that way it can really attract also more investments by showing that it's possible to generate resources for activities, it also will attract the investors to even invest more. So that's all I can say. Thank you for having me, and we'll be in touch through the team. I have to switch to another call at 4:30 sharp, so apologies for leaving now. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think we can continue with the conversation, and a big thank you to Mr. Theuri for joining us. Mr. Emmanuel, how can young people, participate, and how can they be able to plug in terms of, innovative funding to the NGOs and development sector, even to the projects that are being done in the community?
So thank you about that. Let me answer that from I think the Kenya Vision 2030 perspective. And the realities, we all know at this point, at least in the Kenyan context, we have the largest population of the Gen Zs. And the Gen Zs are defined by their age. The oldest Gen Z was born in 1997. So that means by 2030, they will be 33 years old. So that's a measure of a perspective, because by the time we were launching the Vision 2030 in 2008, that means they were what? They were 11 years old or so, and then 13 years old by the time we were launching the new constitution with the new architecture. They were 13 years old. So what does that mean? The constitution, and we all know, talk about the NGOs and this space of civil society and NGOs, was highly disrupted by the devolution. Devolution disrupted it in many, many ways because of simply now the architecture of government, and also participation, much of the issues which NGOs were really working on, and also much of the funding mechanism was all towards multi-party democracy and the new constitutional dispensation. So when that was achieved, there was a whole new order. Now, that is a perspective for the youth to have, because it is simply the new order of things as we have it. The new order now is that the county governments are there. So number one, your innovative ideas and your productivity and probably prosperity in terms of community economic development or community work in the NGO space is happening under county jurisdiction somewhere. So counties have had, and especially Jumuiya ourselves, we've been advocating for county innovation hubs, which is a space, and Vision 2030 now has adopted that for us to have at least one place in each county, which will probably be more of a place of aggregating the whole innovative space, issues of employment, upskilling, and also bringing together again that conversation we're having of the triple helix play. So I think that's a good place to be. We've had this very good example in Mombasa with the Swahili ports, in Kilifi with the Mazingira Park, a good gentleman called Isaac, and Tuva also works around there sometimes. There is quite some movement and a new order of how youth can get to participate. The Go Blue project, when we were working, that's how we got to kind of include them, because we went to these spaces. We went to the space also of a county mandate of the vocational training centers, where there is just a large pool of youth who are very focused. By the time they finish high school and they decide to go to a vocational training, their mind is set for them to build a career. They have a lot of energies at that point. So I think that's a very rich place for us to be able to do, and for the youth to be able to latch in. Another place, I think, especially national government and county governments, is the internship through the public service, where we would absorb young people. At Vision 2030 today, the Secretariat, we've opened doors where we probably have more more interns than even the staff themselves. And we work with them, we rotate them so that we can give opportunities to many. And I think that's across the government. So what we have to do further then is just simply be able to scale it across government, especially now when we are in the process of working through to develop the Kenya at 100 or Kenya Vision 2063, where we have a whole mapping of us kind of co-creating with the youth of the Kenya we want at 100 years since independence. And that's a very, very interesting space, I think, for us to be able to do that without, in a very positive kind of trajectory. And through that also, I think it will open up opportunities for social impact funders to participate in this space. And I'm very fortunate that we can lead that effort. And to you, especially who are in these conversations towards the NGO Summit and Conference, I think it's a conversation to have, and we'll be glad to bring in the new opportunity of the Vision 2030 countdown and the next generation plan of moving Kenya to from a first world to from a third world to a first world with Kenya at 100. Over to you.
Thank you so much. And it's quite interesting to hear the perspective of government. Now come to the sector players. Mr. George, how can young people participate, and how can you accommodate the ideas in funding?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting conversation. I would just reflect maybe as the NGO sector, as in we definitely quite a number of projects have that intentionality. If I can just reflect on one of the projects that Practical Action is implementing, it's called Resilient Agriculture for the Youth. It's funded by MasterCard Foundation, and we are in the Western and Nyanza regions in a number of counties. And the project looks to work with 100,000 participants, if I may put it that way. And with a target of 70% of the project participants being the youth. So this means there are quite a number of opportunities around, be it in skills development, in capacity building, but then also the project also will emphasize still on seed granting for the youths in agribusiness across the whole value chain. Another point I would also mention is that for the project still as practical actions, the ones we have, even it's having that from the project design, that the youth are key participants in the project. From maybe employment perspective, there are usually opportunities both for job employment, but also for internships. But although internships at times may not be quite a high figures, but once in a while, that when we do have projects, they do have internship opportunities, which now presents that entry point for the youth. Looking at it from the academia perspective, in most of our projects, we do partner with academia, both local academia institution and also academia from as in local and international learning institutions, for which now this also creates additional opportunities, be it for students undertaking various courses. They can latch on the projects to get real hands-on experience as they grow their careers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Remember, guys, we are picking up actually some of the questions I'm asking for your chats. I know, and we also want to really keep time, as you said. I know we are about 9 minutes in from the time we said we're going to end, but if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Me and also the rest of the speakers are able to see, and they'll be able to address them as we move on. And I can see hands. Yes, I'll be able to pick up 3 of you. And maybe as we wrap up this session so that you can now delve into our audience, Mr. Churchill, I'm also still on young people, and also in terms of diversifying in terms of funding. You know, for a very long time, we've had the traditional funding models. I know you mentioned about green bonds and everything. So probably maybe the idea of young people, how can we take them up in, and the innovative ideas they have for funding, and also what other diversified ways can we do funding?
Thanks. I think at this juncture, the only just to build on what my fellow panelists have done, just to leverage on tech. You see, this demographics that we're talking about, they're quite tech heavy, and you've seen the kind of social media campaigns that typically happens within this demographic space. So, and also the crowdsourcing platforms that have cropped up over a number of years for now. So these are avenues that potentially even the youth can now be able to come in. They understand the language of tech, and tech right now getting into this whole artificial intelligence stage of technological advancement. This is something that even the youth are fast movers. They have the fast mover advantage that they cannot be able to come in and sort of embrace. I've seen even from a number of economists just trying to bring on board even this whole, in terms of the funding, just to net in some of the youth to be able to get into savings, because if you think about that there's a funding solution that needs to be addressed. On the other hand, you need to also find ways of meeting that demand, or who are the people who will come in and provide the actual funding. So there's a need of even ensuring that there's a savings culture is inculcated. There's a number of literacy, financial literacy programs that are being run, and this is something that is endearing to the youth to be able to come in, to be able to supplement whatever innovative investment solutions, which in one way also tends to end up as a form of for financing. If you think about it, a couple of years ago in Kenya, we had the what you call the mobile M-Bond, Emakeba platform, which was now looking at some small ticket size kind of investment, which was 3,000 shillings, less than $30 per investment, which is way lower than the typical investment if it comes to investing. So as more and more youth start getting into the financial literacy program, they can now be able to come in and support this kind of financing that may be needed by the NGO. So it's a policy that needs to be enhanced to ensure that even the youth themselves are brought in to be able to, in one way or another, as they embrace these crowdsourcing solutions, they can also be the ones also to even provide that kind of financing. Thanks, Mercy.
Thank you so much, Chachi, for that. Yeah.
I think Bonanza is about to leave. I can give him his last question as he exits the meeting. He has to wait for another meeting as we also wind up the program. Mercy.
Mr. Nzai, there are a lot of young people in the chat, and probably maybe, and they're all asking for opportunities, how they can plug in. And Franklin, I see you. I'll come to your question. We have Sharon, who's a young person in Kenya who's looking for opportunities. Probably, where can they get this information apart from in terms of opportunities that they're looking for?
The Kenya Vision 2030 site is there, and also the public service. That's the entry of what I was talking about earlier in terms of these internship positions. The rest is really being out there, networking some of those points that I have mentioned at the level of the county governments. Networking, and also being able to communicate consistency. Do not let it. I think we have challenges, but I think we have more opportunities in this country as long as you're very open-minded for you to do that. And I think 2026 is going to even get better with at least from where I'm seated and what I'm seeing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for this opportunity and really looking forward. All the best for this summit. Looking forward to engage further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana Bonanzai.
Thank you so much. I think now we will come to the audience.